We didn't really know each other that well at that time. Christian was kind of new in our little community, and a lot of it in the beginning was just getting to know each other. And for me, I kind of interrogated him almost about the game and what he thought about the setting and the various ideas he had for tone and feel and everything like that.
Hi, welcome to the Daiku Podcast. I'm Gary Snow, and joining me today, I have two guests from the renowned Stockholm Kartell design group. I have Christian Plogfors and Carl Niblaeus, and they have been doing some amazing work, and specifically Death in Space, which I actually rated as my favorite game of 2022. And I'm very anxious to talk to them about their design process and how they came to create what I think is an amazing game. So Christian and Carl, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, it goes without saying that I really like the design of it. I like the structure of it. Everything about your game is pretty bang on. But in order to get to that point, I really have to ask, how did you get involved in game design or gameplay in the first place? And maybe I'll just throw it to Christian to start us off.
Well, I think it started maybe around when I was 12 or maybe 10, something like that. I played a Lord of the Rings game and with my best friend, and we started kind of playing that. And after a while, I started to do my own stuff, like tables and small maps and lots of drawings of weapons and stuff like that. And then I kind of had a break and started doing music instead. And then a friend told me, we're going to play some role-playing games. And I think that was maybe 10 years ago or more, I can remember. And I joined them, and I got that feeling again when I was young, doing my tables and weapons, and I couldn't. I had to kind of keep on doing it and playing more and more and more, and I was kind of hooked again. So it was like almost looking into a wormhole back to my younger me. So that's kind of where I started playing a lot of Lord of the Rings and a Swedish game called Mutant. And then I came back to it again. And now I guess I'm stuck now forever.
And I'm gonna circle back to your music because I want to know how much music has inspired a lot of your design work. So don't let me forget about that. I want to talk about that. But before we move on to that, Carl and yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as most people in our branch of this world, I started out with tabletop role-playing games in the teenage years. And it's really been one of my main interests since. But I guess about 10 years ago, something like that, I started searching for new influences because I was kind of not really happy where I were with my old group, and I wanted to try out new things, and they weren't really interested in that. So I started looking for new people. I started reading many of these indie RPGs and these OSR games that were still pretty new at that time, and met some of these people that would later become the Stockholm Kartell. And we started playing some mainly OSR games together. And yeah, I was just really inspired by the whole OSR scene and how kind of DIY, creative, and encouraging that atmosphere was. So that kind of got me started for real. I had done some things for Swedish games before, but kind of on a hobby basis. But yeah, then I was kind of more inspired to do more serious stuff. And also I had these other people around me that were really ambitious and also had their own ideas. So when Christian started out with Death in Space a couple of years ago, I was kind of hooked and wanted to help out. So yeah, that kind of started that collaboration.
And what is the origin story of the Stockholm Kartell? Because I mean, from an outsider's perspective, it's like all these like cool people that just kind of magically got together.
Well, it's a bit like that, to be honest.
Oh, we are cool. That's nice.
Well, I can't say anything about that, but yeah, from the beginning, we started playing games together. We were really like a game group that a lot of us came from this Swedish forum, role-playing games forum, and met via that community, which was also kind of a not just a forum. It was more of a, or it still is more of a community also in the real world. And we started playing games and started discussing games a lot. And from that point on, I mean, we were doing something together. And at some point, someone was saying, "Oh, these people in the Stockholm Mafia, they are kind of taking over the scene." So we kind of claimed that and made it our own.
And did you like, I mean, from a layperson's perspective, like from an outsider's perspective, like you kind of burst onto the scene, like, you know, I think, and I'll probably butcher the pronunciation, but Mort Bori, that kind of was the one that kind of made everybody kind of take notice. But how long was the Stockholm Kartell kind of working and doing stuff prior to that?
I mean, that's the first big international thing, definitely. I think it all took us by surprise. I mean, for Johan and Pelle, that was, as far as I've heard, very much of a surprise. And it just exploded. I don't think any of us had kind of these ambitions to really make big things in the international scene. It just kind of happened, to be honest. Yeah.
And when you, like, as a group, like, is everybody part of the, like, kind of the design process, like whether they have their own games or adventures or settings and that kind of thing? Is everybody that plays a designer?
Maybe not all of them, but there's, I think every person in the group are kind of valuable. It's, you kind of, they have different taste of things. So if everybody thinks something is okay, then, you know, okay, it has gone through that filter, so it's okay. Then I will go for that. Then it's okay, because it's so much different opinions about different things. So yeah.
I think each game and project is kind of one or two people who started out and kind of own it and drive it forward, and then sometimes more of us help out, but it's mainly driven by one or two or three people, I would say, and then we discuss and talk a lot about things.
And Christian, you were the one that came up with the original concept for Death in Space. And do you remember kind of those initial days of like when you were thinking about it and how it kind of grew into what it is?
Yeah, it's I kind of started with everything I was doing. I never finished anything. It felt like that, at least. I did some stuff that I finished, but it felt like I never, you know, I just did small things. And then I watched Netflix TV show called Abstract Design or something like that, I think it's called. And the first episode, it talks about, you know, having rules when you do stuff, that you should do it. Doesn't matter if you don't want to, if you want to do it or not want to do it, you should just do it and then have that at a certain time. So I tried that out on the way to work, and I said to myself, I'm going to write 45 minutes every day. So some days I didn't want to do it, but after those 45 minutes, like after 40 minutes, you can't stop. You just go like crazy. And after a while, I think I had like 80 pages or something like that written on my mobile phone. And it kind of spiraled after that. I sat in my car thinking about the game all the time, and I had to stop on the road and write on the phone again, and then keep on driving. So it was kind of a nice feeling when you actually find something that you like to be in that world yourself. So it's it helps a lot. So yeah, that's kind of where it started, watching that TV show.
And so when I think about, when we'll circle back now to like your music, like did you have like a career in music, and what kind of genre or style of music did you play?
No, it was just I kind of like, I think both of us like to like music a lot and play. I stopped after a while, but it was mainly just in a dark room with some friends playing around with their instruments. So that was mainly that, and making music on the computer. So yeah.
Music production, right? A bit.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I went to school. I'm a sound engineer. I forgot about it. Yeah, there was that's kind of a story in itself. I said to myself, oh, I should I be a rock star? Maybe I should know how to record music or something like that. And then I went to school for that, and because you sat so much at the computer when you edited the music and stuff like that, I got my love back for computers again. So I kind of and graphics and stuff like that. So I kind of started to do that stuff instead. So yeah, music has always been there, but it's part of everything. Like I just love making whatever it is, like an atmosphere or a feeling. I like to either it's music or it's writing or layout or anything like that. I kind of like building that world. So it kind of fits together, everything.
When you were writing, like on the side of the road and on your mobile phone, did you already envision the end state, like the visual design of it and kind of the mood that you were going for as you were writing it?
Well, the only thing I had in my head was a couple of movies that I liked, that both of us liked, and I I saw the Traveler cover. I didn't read the book. I just saw the cover and I thought that looks like a really cool game, and people talked about it. And without reading it, I kind of thought I'm going to write the game that I believe that cover is. So that's kind of where it started also. So yeah.
And then Carl, when you saw those initial pages and the concept and the idea, when you came on board, like, what was the conversation as far as like the collaboration and how you were going to approach it?
I think it was quite chaotic in the beginning. I think we were, we didn't really know each other that well at that time. Christian was kind of new in our little community. And a lot of it in the beginning was just getting to know each other. And for me, I kind of interrogated him almost about the game and what he thought about the setting and the various ideas he had for tone and feel and everything like that. And I tried to kind of, this is kind of where we definitely had some disagreements about certain things here and there. And I think the beginning was really a lot of that kind of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, if you know that concept, where we discuss things a lot and then we come to some kind of common conclusion where we still feel like, okay, we have some common ground here.
It changed a lot after you joined, so that's for the good part.
Yeah. But for me, I haven't noticed that so much. I've always kind of tried to. For me, it's been very important to preserve the feeling that you had for the game to start with. But obviously, I'm a separate person, and I'm gonna affect the game in some way just by being there, saying things.
And how was it as far as like collaborating? Did you have like a Google Doc on the cloud, or like how did you kind of like both work on it at the same time? Because I think Christian, you did like the layout primarily, and then Carl and Christian, you did the writing back and forth. And how did you figure out what sections to do and like what to do next?
It was also maybe not the most structured process, but I've studied a lot at university, and I've had to practice a bit of structure in projects that I do, and I've written, several 100-page thesis, so I have some experience in just putting things together and structuring texts. So I started doing that a lot. and asking questions like, why is this header level the same as this header level when they're not really the same hierarchical position in the text? And Christian was like, I don't know, I just write things. And so for me it was a bit of structuring up all of these 80 pages written on the mobile phone, while at the same time trying to kind of contributing with what I liked at the same time, and adding a little bit of my tone as well. And I think we had like a master document, and then I had kind of a separate document where I took things from the original draft master document and kind of process it one section by section.
And Christian, I just saw you reach for a book.
Yeah, I did. This is the first 80 pages. So that's how it looked before. So there's a couple of things that's still the same, but yeah, it's it kind of was still, it looked almost the same, some stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, and that was something that I was really drawn to at first, the layout that you had already done with the black pages and the kind of the feel of the layout.
And then do you both write in Swedish first and then translate it, or do you write in English first and just it works for you because you're bilingual, or you might even know more languages?
Well, well, it's in English, but I guess I'm not super good at it. So Carl has to do a lot of work there also. But in English mostly.
It's written in English from the beginning, and yeah that's been a challenge, absolutely. And in the end, I'm happy with the result, but I think a native English speaker would probably have done some things better. But we have had like English speaking editors and so on, so it's
Well, I'm going to add, let's look through it and just like talk maybe through some of the design decisions, and you guys can both speak to it or jump in. But first of all, I mean, it really doesn't come across that like it's tough on the video screen, but like the foil, did you all, I'm moving it around. Did you always go, okay, we got to have foil on the holograph foil on the cover? Is that like something that right off the bat you said, like, this is I want it to be so cool and like hardback and all those kind of like bigger design decisions?
I think it started, the first one was green instead of the white things going out there. And I'm not sure when we realized we could do it in holographic, but it could be, I can't remember actually.
No, I don't remember that either. You had the idea, I think. I think we were a bit inspired by there's one page in the Mörkborg book with a big silver cross, and we thought that maybe we can do something like that. And yeah,
that's true.
I don't know if that was the original inspiration. I don't remember, but yeah, they definitely had that page at least.
And it says holographic version. Does there happen to be a other version, or is that just like one of those design kind of things that you went, oh, we're going to put a holographic version on it?
Well, we have a special edition also that's in cloth instead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I did not know that. Sorry.
Yeah, so, there's not a non-holographic version that looks the same, but there's a non-holographic version that looks a bit different.
Let's see. It's like this.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of cloth.
More minimalist.
Okay. Carl, I don't know if you remember, I met you very briefly at Gen Con. I saw you on day one, and I said, hey, let's do maybe a floor interview and just my circumstances. And I think you were quite busy as well, that we never reconnected. But I was very anxious to buy Death in Space, and I said, oh, I'll just buy it tomorrow. And then it was already sold out after day one. So it was quite popular.
Yeah, it was very popular on Gen Con. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I think I remember you, but yeah, there were a lot of people there. It was very busy, but you were the one with the camera, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that.
But has it surprised you? I mean, it's now like basically been a year of releasing since you released it. Has it surprised you, the popularity of the game? And maybe I'm reading into this. Maybe like I see it as a very popular and distinct game in the world. Do you get that kind of feedback?
I don't know. It's very hard when you're kind of the creator in your bubble. Also, when you have Mörkborg as your next door neighbor. In that sense, it's not as popular maybe as Mörkborg, but what is, to be honest. No, I think I'm a bit surprised. Yeah, I think when we launched the Kickstarter, we were both kind of in shock for several days.
Yeah, that was a surprise. That the people, and the surprise that actually people kind of understood it in a way, because this is a game mainly for me and Carl. We wanted to do the game that we like, so seeing other people liking it, that's always a surprise. That there are more people out there. I think Carl is seeing that more because he's going a lot more to cons than me. I just sit here and in this dark room.
You are invited to the cons, just so no one thinks that we're not inviting him.
Are you going to Gen Con this year?
Well, I am, at least.
Oh, I think we got you frozen again, Carl. But let's try. You're back again. Well, anyways, people watching at home, it's technical difficulties. It's the internet. That's the way it goes sometimes. But and then Carl, the other thing, when I was talking to you at Gen Con, very briefly, I said, I thought pretty cool that you were willing to put out what I called a space horror. With Mothership also kind of being in the space, and you kind of looked at me a little bit funny, and I remember going. And I think you may have even said, well, I don't think it's a space horror. And so, and after I got the book finally, I went, yeah, totally right. I was kind of off on that. But do you find like people just naturally go, oh, it's like Mothership?
A bit in the beginning, but not that much at this point, I think. It's not that common, I would say. But yeah, sure, there are some similarities. I think for me, the main similarity is kind of the aesthetic of the games. And Mothership is more kind of from the Alien film, after the xenomorph bursts, the chest burster scene in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And our game is maybe more before that scene. So that's kind of a division you can make. No, I think at this point, people who read the games probably see that they're not that similar in what you actually play, I think, even though Mothership is maybe a bit more general, more of a general purpose game. Ours is maybe a bit more niche with a defined setting, even though it's a bit loose. But still there is a default setting that we present in the book.
And I totally agree. And I was way off when I kind of asked the question, and I now understand why you kind of gave me that kind of sideways look of, well, it's not that.
No.
But so it's been good. But and Christian, did you always have this like the base setting as the foundation, or did that evolve as you kept writing?
Some of it. There were two movies that was kind of. I had in my mind all the time when I was doing it, and that was now I can't remember them.
I can remember them.
My favorite movies.
Outland and Prospect, right? Outland and Prospect.
And I always liked that the universe in some of it in Alien and Aliens, and I like that kind of the world in itself, and also the grittiness of Star Wars. But I wanted more of it. I wanted everything to be dirty, and also something that you don't see in this game that much. But Blade Runner is also like a thing I had in my mind of feeling and atmosphere. but I don't think anyone sees that in the book. But it was there in my mind, at least, like guiding how I wanted. So yeah, it was there, kind of, in the beginning.
And to just dive into some of the layout that I've been flipping through on the screen, early on, you showed us the 8-page original kind of layout. So was it always like in your mind, it's going to be black for the void of space? And when you went to the printers for the first time, like the coverage that it must have taken to get it all that black, did they go, okay, we're going to up our quote for the printing? Because like that's a ton of coverage.
I think the first test was not in black, but then I did a black page, and I think, I like this, and I get the right feeling of just like you said, of the space. You don't get that. It's harder to get that with white pages. So yeah. But when I started changing that, I asked some people in the cartel, is this okay to do? And I'm not sure if I got the yeah, do it. It was more like maybe it's not super good. But we kind of choose that. It was a choice both from me and Carl that let's go for that, because you get the right feeling of the game. And in this case, it was more important, almost more important than you can read the book. But it's still readable. Because of Dante in Cartell, who did a great job of adding some tricks to the text in the book.
Yeah.
And as far as the the aesthetic and the design, there's not, when you actually flip through it, a lot of it is that minimalist design, and very, there's not a ton of illustrations in there, but the ones that are in there are very impactful and kind of fit the overall layout. And from that kind of what maybe I'd say the Swedish aesthetic of minimalist design in general, compared to say something like Morkborg, where it's like a little bit more in your face and random. How did you kind of fall into, okay, here's our template and here's the way we're going to look? How many iterations and trial and errors did you have to do to get to this point?
A lot. I'm kind of the designer that I don't know that much of actually all the rules. I know some stuff, but composition in itself is more. I often go off the feeling, so I kind of move around stuff a lot until it feels good. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I just moving around stuff, and because of when I kind of before Carl joined, I'm not sure if they have started with Morkborg then, or it was I'm not sure if they talked about it or anything like that, but. Also, when Morkborg kind of came up, we kind of went also the other way, because I also like chaotic, but it's nice when it's strict, because that's also you get the feeling of the universe a bit better in our world.
I think we were talking about like old manuals and that kind of feeling as well.
Yeah, that was like a big thing. Like the C64 manual. So that was a great inspiration. We wanted something a bit more strict and how do you say, it's like computer-like, or so you don't get that much of not feeling like so you get more of I can't find the word I'm looking for, actually.
Well, that's okay. I think it does have that, like when they fire up the Alien computer, like in the original Alien, the 1979 version, and it's got the dot matrix kind of, but the colors and on the black screen, it's definitely kind of capturing that vibe of the technical manual, but lo-fi kind of analog kind of feel to it as well.
I think we wanted kind of a combination between those old user terminals, retro style from Alien and so on, and also maybe a bit inspired by old graphic design that is maybe this this thing called Bauhaus, for example, which is this old German functionalist design school, which is still a little bit of an inspiration. I think we both like that kind of graphic design, and I think for me it's a little bit of combination between this very retro style and that more graphic design style.
And that's something that you can absolutely see on the first. I'm going to show the cover that's they didn't use, but the first cover is very inspired by like C64 and all those computer manuals. So yeah, that's it's well, not. I like the one we have now better.
When did you stumble across the color coding for the different sections? Was that something you always wanted to do, or did it just kind of happen organically?
I think it happened organically. Also, that's something you kind of go for when, like in school, you had those small markers in the at the end
binders,
binders sticking out, different colors. So that was also a thing, but yeah, it happened more and more, and then we said, okay, we're going to do each chapter like a color. So that was a thing that
I really like that. I didn't really think of it so much before you started doing it. I like it a lot. Yeah, it's also visible from the side, I think. Well, that was the idea, at least.
Yeah, you can definitely see it very quickly, and it just helps wayfinding for those that. But and then as far as the rules go, I think I've heard in a previous interview of yours that it started off with the Knave rule set, and then you eventually kind of scrapped it or took elements of it and built it on what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And going back to your like of the OSR, how important was it for you to kind of like maintain those OSR fundamentals of like leaving space for people to do like little prep and leaving space for people to explore the world versus a big lore dump and here's what's going to happen and we're going to railroad you?
Well, I think both me and Carl kind of like that's the way. I think you play it like that also, but when we play role-playing games, we kind of leave something so we can fill it in ourselves. So that's just mainly how we play. But the Knave thing was also, after a while, we're starting to feel like the setting itself needed other kind of rules, because it's nice when the setting and rules are kind of connected. And the best case is when you kind of can't remove a rule because it's part of the setting. And that was also a process we had later in the project where we actually went through all the rules because we had more rules in the beginning, and said like, okay, is this important for our setting? We like the rule, but it's not important for the setting. Okay, let's cut it. So we cut some rules that wasn't super important for actually telling the story for our game.
I think, that's fair. I mean, we started with the Knave system, but then we kind of added more and more things that we came up with on our own. And at some point we realized that there's not so much Knave left anymore. So why not just rebuild this from scratch and combine all the systems together in our own way?
And it's probably I'm doing everything's kind of ass backwards, where like we got right into like the graphic design and layout, but we haven't even really talked about the setting itself. So maybe can you give us like a 1 minute, 2 minute kind of for those that are like, well, I'm glad you talked about the design, but what about the setting itself?
I know Carl is awesome at this.
This is my question. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the main setting, it's the Tenebris stellar system. It's a stellar system in the aftermath of a war, and this war came about due to a kind of a gold rush for precious gems that were found in this system, like maybe 100 years ago, something like that. Big corporations were in this war against each other for the rights to kind of mine these gems. And now the war is over. All the supply chains are kind of destroyed. There's almost no contact with other stellar systems out there. People are kind of stuck in this broken system, trying to get by and rebuild their lives. Almost all manufacturing broke down due to the war, and most objects are now just kind of put together from salvaged or broken stuff. It's a little bit retro-inspired, the setting. Technology is kind of wired rather than wireless in most cases, and we refer to things like cartridges, and computers are kind of bulky panels on the wall, on a wall somewhere, rather than maybe also in your pocket. But yeah, it's more the kind of the retro feel. And also, I think it's important for us is that the Tenebris system is really included as a starting point for those that like to have a setting to base their campaign from. But it's also important for us that we don't provide all the details. We want to leave some pieces of the puzzle kind of open for you to fill in yourself and make your own version of the setting. And that's important. And we have lots of places where we even write in the book that you come up with something which fits your version of the setting. And also have a lot of tables and equipment lists and things like that where we help define the setting without actually maybe writing about it in text. So yeah, that's maybe a 1 minute elevator pitch.
And there's like a mystical element, like the void.
True.
And the cult too is like so it's kind of got some nice elements that are just not strictly sci-fi.
Yeah. It's exactly. I got asked this question the other day at the con, like, is this a hard sci-fi game? And I can't, with a good conscience, say that it's a rock hard science fiction game. It's pretty easy to kind of tone down those things if you want to. But yeah, there are some elements there with this void and the corruption of the void and the strange effects that it has on people, and the strange voices in the static of electronics and so on. So yeah, there's some weirdness in there because we like it.
And I guess also the big thing with it's you can see that it's the end of time with this is everything has been there, so all civilizations have kind of died out. So you're kind of living in the scraps of everything that's been there. So, and you also have this universe that they think it's not. People don't know if it's true or not, but some say that the universe are kind of collapsing back again. So that's also a big thing with the setting.
And as far as the setting goes, like we're like about a year now. What else do you have planned? I know that you put out some like albums, mood kind of albums. That's been good, but I haven't seen any announcements, or maybe I've missed them, about what's next steps for Death in Space.
Yeah, we are.
we have been a bit quiet. Yeah.
What?
We have been a bit quiet. That's true.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah, you were going to say we are actually working on something. Yes.
Yeah, we're working on something a bit. It's not big, but like a campaign book, kind of, with some adventures and tables and lots of content so that you can play and do with a theme. So we have a couple of adventures that's already done and play tested. So we're kind of going through them and editing them and looking at mood boards and trying out covers and see kind of where we land, how it will feel, and what we want to do with it. So yeah, there's in the kind of, we have been writing all the time, but it was mainly separate stuff. Now we thought, let's just connect everything together with a red kind of thread through the whole adventure, or all adventures. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. So it's a lot of work and very fun.
Or will you end up bringing it to Kickstarter, do you think, again, similarly?
We will see exactly how we do that. It will come out in some way, but if it's Kickstarter or not, we have not decided yet.
And maybe just in kind of closing out, I can't help but go like, the Stockholm Kartell and how your partnership with Free League. I don't even know if the partnership's the right word, but you're under the Free League umbrella. How beneficial is it to have like Free League in its own right? People love the products that they're producing, and you create as the Stockholm Kartell like a whole other level of kind of really custom bespoke materials. How is it to work with Free League? I know you're not going to say anything bad about them, but it's probably like a nice partnership, it seems.
Well, yeah, it kind of started. We did a podcast a long time ago with one of their games, and they actually invited us because we did a podcast for their game. We did a podcast about their game. I think we ended up with 52 episodes or something like that, and because they kind of reached out and we started talking. I'm kind of annoying with that, and I started to send pictures and and text to them. So they are quite nice to everyone in the whole in Sweden, at least, with not helping, but listening and reaching out. So it's quite simple to contact them and talk to them, and so yeah. That relationship, I guess it's good.
No, absolutely. I mean, we get the freedom to do exactly the game we want, basically, and with their help and their connections to printers and so on, we can actually print exactly the book we want as well. And they also have the distribution network, of course, which is a huge benefit. So for us, it's very, very good in that sense. Yeah, as I said, I mean, we can really do the games we want anyway. So yeah, in that sense, it works well. But we're quite independent still, I would say.
Yeah, it's kind of more we send stuff to them, and then if they like it, maybe they help us.
Yeah, I mean, the formal relationship is that they're the publisher. They publish certain books that we make. Maybe not all of them, especially for Merkborg, that's true. They have some books that are not published by Free League. But the core books are published by Free League. So, yeah.
And as far as, I guess, my audience goes, there's a lot of aspiring game designers, and is there any kind of advice that you would give folks that are watching at home, as far as they see a product like yours, they love it, and they go like, I want to produce something like that myself? Any advice that you would give them?
Start small.
Yeah.
Don't try do the biggest thing, and I kind of have a rule with the first thing you do is always crap. So don't worry about that. So just do what you think is good, and
yeah,
kind of.
I think it's a good tip to start small, and it's maybe start with a scene or something which is easier to print and has less of a financial risk, because you don't know how it will go. So why not start small? And Kickstarter is a good way to reduce the risk for yourself, of course. And also a good way to actually give yourself a deadline and really push yourself to finishing something, I think. It's a lot of work to do a Kickstarter, but yeah, there are definitely some very good things about it.
And you mentioned something about having a deadline. I think that's also super important to maybe, try to have a don't sit for years.
No, I think it's good to have someone to discuss with, but also at some point to just say that you're done, because you will always come up with new things you want to change all the time. If you look at something 1 month later, you're gonna want to change things. if you look at it 1 year later, it better be out or it's never gonna come out.
And I have one more thing that I think is super important, and that's to playtest a lot, because you never know how it works or feel. And sometimes if you don't like to actually kind of write the game and then playtest it, try to just make a couple of rules and then playtest that, and then just add on, when you're sitting at the table, I want to do this, and then you start writing what your friends like and what you like to at the table. Like iterating your product instead of just having, I'm going to write it and now it's done. Let's play test it. So the iteration, I think that's how I like to do it. But maybe it's not for everybody. But it's kind of my way to do it at least. So.
Well, I really appreciate you, coming on the show and sharing some of your wisdom and your experience and your process on how you produced the game. And once again, like from my perspective, I thought it was the best game of 2022. And so hats off to both of you for producing such an awesome little game. And I look forward to seeing more in the future. And when you do have that next product, be sure to come back and tell us all about it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.